CFR Network, CFR News, Shalom, Balance, Paradise, Righteousness, all back diligently, as you don't know, working hard in the lab. I got the sibling with me, Noon Science. Tar, what do you do, sibling? Welcome back and black to the broadcast. What do you do?
Yeah, true peace, man. I'm glad to be here. You know, every time we come together, there's always something big going on. Months and months, you know, you've been pretty busy on the board, man. I've been seeing that, trying to stay within the realm of things. What's been popping? What's going on?
Just housing this culture, freedom, and righteousness. You know, diligently working hard, exploring this human experience. I tell you what I've been dealing with. Flipping, I can't send international stuff because there's a all kind of strikes for the Royal Mail, which is like our version of your, you know, postal service kind of thing. Is crazy. So I'm
what's the reason for that?
In essence, to do a micro build, it was a governmental Royal Mail, as it states, was a government-run and backed company in the late 80s, I think it was, or early 90s. They privatized it and made it, you know, they privatized the electricity, the gas, and the postal services. So now we've got corporations who control that. And over the years, Royal Mail has been sold like 3 or 4 times to these different corporations. And they're just squeezing, they're just making them do more and more and more and more stuff. Like, here's an example. First class stamps, and I'm a stamp collector, not so much now, but historically I was a stamp collector. I got all kind of stamps, and especially I used to, you know, definitely keep a track on the UK stamps and all that.
Okay.
First class stamp would cost us, let's go back to like 90s. You're looking like 17 pence, 18 pence. First class stamps now, sibling, I couldn't even tell you. They're probably about just under £1 or something like that. £1.
And £1 is how much in American dollars?
A dollar plus. Because the pound's weak now, it's probably only about like $1.10 or something like that. But in the good old days, it would be like $3. So they've messed it up. So then again, the employees, they're doing more work for less money. So they were picketing, I think it was like November, December kind of time. They were picketing, no work, strikes. And as a result, they got a huge backlog of parcels, especially international parcels to deliver. So now they've come out with a thing saying, yo, we've had a cyber attack. And as a result of this cyber attack, we can't post out nothing, sibling.
So you said it's like $1?
Well, no, that's just no. That is just for as an envelope to get posted. For me, when I'm shipping internationally to where you are, the wilderness, North America, I can pay anywhere up to $20 plus.
Okay, because this saying here, international postcards is $1.40. Just off a postcard.
Yeah. They're taking liberties, man. So I'm delayed. I'm majorly delayed with whole heap of international shipments and all that there. So apologies all. You know, I've put it out there. As soon as that is rectified, all parcels will be going out. Yeah, no. But outside of that, man, everything is everything, sibling, you know. Cannot complain at all. All wise and civilized, as they say.
Sheesh. Yeah, I mean, last time I heard about anything dealing with something to that was when Trump was in, when they was getting closer to the, you know, the voting and stuff. And they had a big thing about, because he was he was putting it out there that they was gonna do some, you know, fish business with the mail and you know, the Democrats were trying to do this, you know, the mail-in ballots, and you didn't have to have no ID. They was, you know, you could tell that was cheating off the rip, and they was finding all types of people's voting in empty houses.
Yep.
You know, it was catching some of these dudes on the West Coast driving, going places, just dumping them off somewhere. It was a whole hot mess. So they was trying to really stop the mail for a while. They've been attacking the mail for the past couple of years. And because they're trying to do this whole digital push.
Yes.
So that is what they really doing, man. That dude, Charles Schwab, that German dude is sick. He's insane. I know y'all is hearing about them over there.
Yes. Not on the mainstream in regards to, the shame stream media. They ain't pumping any kind of real like scrutiny. It's all positive in it. Wonderful,
Wow.
wonderful Charles Schwab, wonderful Bill Gates, wonderful flipping Justin Trudeau. Everyone's blessed.
Well, the only person that's really being attacked in the news over here is Hunter Biden, Fauci.
Fauci's being attacked in the news.
Yeah, over here. Yeah, like they ain't going hard, but what they do is since they all been going to court over the last couple of months, you won't know unless it's some people that really, really keep up that you can hear about on Instagram, but then you'll see the news clip and they'll show that he was being questioned about the gain of function and all that stuff. So we getting some acknowledgement of the crimes that they pulling. Right now though, they I don't know if you don't have it, I got the Epstein, what her name, Ghislaine Maxwell when she went to court. I got that whole thing. It's like 2,000 pages. I can email it to you if you ain't got it.
Yes. The transcript you're talking about from the the cross-examination. Yeah, man, I would definitely mind reading that there. Most definitely.
Well, make sure you give me your email. I'll get that to you because it's a lot of names on there. I'm just taking my time reading because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And again, that was something that about time that was about to come out. All of these train fake accident derailments.
Oh my gosh.
They going ham with that. It was like 3 or 4. Well, I know it was 3, I think, maybe in Ohio, then another building that was 70 miles away exploded. I think Texas had some kind of accident, then Texas got hit with a meteor. They didn't, yes, a meteor crashed in Texas. Some plastic plant in Florida is on fire right now.
And what about some Detroit? I hear like a train derailed in Detroit or something. Or is that misinformation?
Something happened in Detroit too. I even seen on Instagram where a person, a train was coming at night and a camera caught it. They actually parked the car right in front of the train that was coming and got out and let the train hit it, but it didn't cause the train to. For the years, it deals with the spirit. So it's so much reverse information and mentality. Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're 100% correct. It's like an inversion. Reality is inverted, especially with what we think the norm is.
Right. And this is why when you look at the symbols that we wear, we have the N is when things are right side up. Now, in the back of my hat is the Z, which is the 180 degrees different and opposite to Nupu. And that's why these things are like this all around the world. That's why you look at what people do here, whether, let's say, take relationships. You'll see, and I see this online all the time because this is the opposite of the people who done got to the last degree of reasonability between relationship between male and female. Now they have guys, whether it's Andrew Tate or whoever, you got all these people is now seeing the dumbness because we didn't hit rock bottom. So now these conversations are here that, good, especially with the feminism. The feminism don't realize that the transgenderism then is basically damn near replace them because y'all can't keep scapegoating men and saying men is this, men is that. And then you got these people saying, you know, pronouns, you can't call me this, you can't, and that's taking more precedence over everything else. But my point is this, the same thing we came up when we realized you got good women don't want to choose good men, they choose bad men and get abused by them, and they think that that's the way to go. See, that's the opposite. These are the effects of the moon cycle. You understand the reverse. So every time you look around, you'll see that everywhere you look at it, every facet of life, from politics all the way down to how you rear your kids. And now in America, you know, everything is being distracted. The leadership is insane. You got drag queens is all over the place teaching kids. And it's not like how when you went to school in the library, when you had a guest come over, the guests would come into if you're in the library, they would read to you, certain things like that. They got drag queens coming in there dressed. Some of them is not even fully women looking. They got beards, wearing these crazy, revealing costumes, and they're performing like they at a strip club or something.
Yes.
And the parents are so magnetized by the stupidity of the negative forces that they are arguing with these people, and the reasonable thing to do is take your kids out of school.
Yep.
That, you understand? Because once it get to that point, you have to realize that this institution and what's running it done lost his mind, and you keep sending your kids there. The same thing now, people are now realizing.
Well, Sibling, before you get onto that,
okay,
because you're bringing up a lot of factual information right now, but let's stick with what you're talking about now. So we've identified a problem. We've identified a problem that they're pushing a crazy agenda, especially in the wilderness of North America's up, because you know y'all the testing bed on testing ground for all these things. So we've identified that they're pushing this stuff. They're getting people to come in and do all kind of debauchery and let the children tip them and give them money like they're in, as you say, they're in a strip club. They've got books that's promoting masturbation and copulation and all kind of things in my talking. They're all kind of wickedness that children should not be exposed to, at least until they get into double figures and they go into like secondary school, you know. So we identified that. What's the solution? Like what should parents do then? Should they just say, okay, well, we're going to homeschool, even though there's both of the parents them are working like 70-hour weeks and shit? Like how?
Because the negative forces of nature, who has physical representative, and that's what we teach at noon. Everything that's invisible has a physical representation. So since we talking about, you know, let's say the Illuminati and all of them, who's now known that their agenda is called politically Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2040, Agenda 2050. These people, Charles Schwab and all of them, who the European Union, the United Nations, the World Economic Forum, NATO, all these people are part of that same thing. And the thing is that that now, and I'm gonna jump to that, but it's nothing, like you said, they're working 70-hour weeks. Now what Biden has done is guaranteed the Ukrainians, not only did they give the people who came here from the fake war that they having and gave them a bunch of money without our consent.
Yeah.
They also gave their president a couple of $1 billion, which he took some of that and paid to be a member of the World Economic Forum. All right. And then
the actor comedian who's now the president of Ukraine, right?
Ukraine, right. So they because they formulating everything they trying to do. It's a fail already. And also they just gave the Ukrainians that's over here access to what they call it a pension, Americans' pension. That means the money that they done saved up that people supposed to get when they retire, SSI, for the basic Social Security income, that right there, they are allowing the Ukrainians to tap into that.
Huh?
Yeah.
Under what guys though? Under the guys that they can
Because
access it now.
because he claimed he want to support and help the Ukrainians. But Biden's agenda is the what is the Inflation Reduction Bill. That right there was just the Green New Deal renamed, because that was the whole thing against carbon, and we trying to get you out your cars and put you all on trains and put you in these smart cities. Now they rename smart cities 15 minutes.
15 minute cities.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And they finna start testing that next year, where they're gonna put people on a lockdown. I forgot what country they're gonna do that overseas. But
well,
this
sibling, Oxford, UK, they're protesting for the past just under a month, because that's where they're doing the beta test for the 15-minute cities. They're blocking off all kind of roads. They're making it so difficult to travel as a road user. It's crazy.
Right. That's the and it ain't like they're gonna build no new cities. They just gonna take whatever they designate, wherever these people they're gonna do, they're gonna trap them in there. And the thing over here, why they doing that, and another reason why, and before I jump to that, so they trying to bankrupt America, and that's why they spending all this money over and over. That's they're raising the inflation. So the name of the bill is the Inflation Reduction Act, but inflation only can be reduced if you balance out and stop spending. But they keep cutting these billions and trillion dollars of checks. And they creating all these people that's coming over here from the immigrants after Trump lost, and they brought in all those Mexicans and different people from all over the place, and nobody knows where these people went. They said it's like 1 million of them came over here, 1 million to 500,000, and you only know that they came here, they put them on buses and dispersed them throughout the United States, and you only hear about where some of them went, and they gotta be somewhere living. And the American taxpayer is paying for all of this, but this is right out of the New World Order playbook. If you look at that, remember that New World Order book? There was white green pyramid on it. That old book,
the old school one.
Right, that old school book. If you read in there, one of them, the playbooks is to overrun the country with foreigners.
Yes.
And make the country that's a burden on the country financially. Then have them race mixing and crime, and then you send in your people in there that's hired, trained killers, military hitters, sabotagers, people who gonna create all types of fake accidents and blame on another group, keep the people upset and fighting. This is what they did to what over there in what part of Europe they did that in? I want to say England, but it's another spot I can't think of. But the guy who created,
well, funny you say that, because in essence they're doing exactly the same thing here. Migrant replacement. They're now they want to replace the Afro-Caribbeans who came over in the 50s, who rebuilt England once it was destroyed after their cousin war feud type thing, World War I, World War II. So we had to rebuild this here, and now we've provided so much excellence, and we've done this, and we're still here doing the thing. They're like, we need a new people now. You've served your purpose. You know, we've made so much money from you now. Now it's time to influx some East Africans, some West Africans, some Eastern Bloc Europeans. Now what we'll even do, we'll allow, now picture this, sibling. My foreparents came over to England and had to pay. They came with a passport. They came to England and they suffered some of the horrific shit you can even imagine. You know, getting attacked by teddy boys, by skinheads, you know, going to trying to get a place to live, and it says on there, no dogs, no Irish, no blacks. Like, but we fast forward to the Gregorian year of 2022 or 2023 even, and you can come over here on a dinghy boat. You can strap yourself underneath a vehicle and come over to England via the Eurotunnel. And if you're caught, they're going to give you, they're going to put you up in a potentially, and this is not guaranteed. You've got detention centers, you've got hotels that have been repurposed, so like Holiday Inns, your Premier Inn, and all that kind of
They're
stuff.
doing that
They've
over here
got
right now.
They got 5-star hotels,
Yep.
sibling, with
Yep.
outdoor pools, indoor pools, tennis courts, and there's no guests in there apart from immigrants. They're giving them digital ID cards with credits of £1,000 on there, but
Right.
yet they come over here illegal and they're destroying their passports, some of them, before they even come over, so they can't be identified.
Right. They doing that over here too. They even got some of these immigrants on a military base down in Florida, just tearing up the place. On a military base. I'm like, the military is supposed to be sovereign, and they supposed to have the ability to say, when you see your country doing foolishness, y'all know it's been infiltrated.
Yes.
And they supposed to do something. But they sitting there like dummies. The same they doing up in New York, they got there in I don't know how many star hotel it is, but they up there in New York, and they just tearing up the whole hotel, food everywhere. They even throwing out thousands of dollars worth of food a day because they don't like the food that the hotel is serving.
Yes. They want a specific type of food.
Right. And this is this is part of the agenda. The guy, I can't think of his name. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick just to get his name.
I mean, whilst you're pulling that, while you
European Union. The founder, his name
oh shit, I was just looking at that about 2-3 weeks ago.
Because it was a guy who the founded the European Union. He was mixed. I think he was like part Jewish and German in the long-term plan, and they doing that same thing over here. Matter of fact, I forgot what part of the UK, what part of the UK where they were bringing all those Muslims over there.
It's not just what part, every part of every part, but the concentrated parts were London and Birmingham, right. Bradford as well, Bradford, Manchester. It was basically the major cities.
And because I was hearing how a lot of those Muslim men is raping women over there, hard body.
You see, with that, now I'm glad you mentioned that. I think, don't get it twisted. There is an issue. There is an issue going on with sexual offenses against women. Now, I want to be crystal clear. The majority within the United Kingdom are of white stock, of different quote unquote nationalities. And they're the purveyors. They're the majority who are doing these attacks. They're killing, raping. Well, in whatever order they wish, these depraved beings. They're doing all of that. But as you say, no, there are these Muslims that are coming over here. Only in name. They're not coming in peace. They're not coming in salam. They're not coming in none of that kind of thing. They're savage beasts coming over here. And again, we've got to realize, and we've got to appreciate that the world is a very different place now. They come from a quote unquote developing world, potentially developing nation. They come to a quote unquote developed nation where the moralities and how women dress are totally different. So that's the first thing. We've got to be realistic with that, number one. And number two, as I say, you got these weirdos and they're grooming young girl. Some of them are going out and actually doing wild stuff, but it's not what Mr. Jones is talking. That kind of stuff is allegedly happening more in Europe. And I don't think it's that many high cases. I think in France it's happened when in the New Year's Eve parties, celebration, quote unquote, but they're not literally running around raping women like that. No. They're grooming young girls, and doing some real disgusting, depraved things, and the government themselves are turning very much a blind eye to this thing. The police are very much turning a blind eye to this thing because they don't want to be seen as racist by targeting and actually investigating and making sure that young girls are safe. The priority, protect women and children. Unfortunately, sibling, it ain't been done.
Right. And all of this, again, when you get into Noon goes into this very well. And it's a sex force called Leviathan. And
Oof.
Leviathan comes by way of gamma radiation. And gamma radiation is what they, when you get into radiation itself, it tells you that radiation and these elements that come from it are what deteriorating. These are deteriorating elements. And since Leviathan comes from the sun, and this is more akin to the negative side, the sexual force, the energy, and the fact that it's in everything. When it first came from the sun, it went into the waters, it went into the plant world. Our ancestors were here first. It's in your blood, it's in the water, it's in the things you eat, all of that stuff that, you can, eat certain foods you can, that are called aphrodisiac. It's only that way because that energy from millions of years ago sprinkled itself all over the planet. So it's all over the place. Wherever there's reproduction, whether it's sexually or asexually, Leviathan is the driving sexual force behind it. Now, when they get into human beings, when you start talking about debauchery and the way that people just stuck on sex and just constantly doing it, and it's morphing based upon the orb that's affecting it, it's mixed with. So the way the sun puts out sex energy, humans that's more akin to that will behave a certain kind of way. And then the earth or the planets behave a certain, I'm gonna say this right here, and then with the moon being the dead universal body, its effect on Leviathan is even more worse than the earth, and the earth, the way she do it, is worse than the way the sun does it. And so these orbs, all of them from Neptune to the sun, Pluto's not a planet, all of these orbs also have something to do with the sex life of human beings and the way we do it and the deterioration of it. So that's the real reason that that's happening. Go ahead.
Connection to things. Is there a connection between, being as the being born in the sun cycle? For your natal.
Yeah, I mean, like for right now, we in that 63-year window. We now in year 61. By the time we get to 2025, then it'll be a cataclysm that's gonna start the whole thing over. Us being born, whether you was born before 1962 or after, is not really important. What's important is if the knowledge reaches you. And in the Bible interpretation, and in the Nambar, it speaks, which Afro wrote under Amenubi Rakapata in 1967 to 1972. It says that nine ether visits the mind of its posterity. Nupu at this point in time are mental energies, but it has its own higher degrees of ether that it emanates because gases exist. But these are such high level gases that they can't be detected. And they're affecting the elements that do exist on the periodic chart. But most of anything, they're mental energy. So when nine ether reaches you in the form of where you heard somebody speaking it, or you get your hands on the PDF or the books, that's a generating bond mentally, etherically, physically, or spiritually, spiritually, between you and sound right reason. And then you started following it. That's why when you always hear me say that, that's in the book. It says, follow sound right reason, because that's the best mind of the one supreme being. And that is what's affecting everything in existence for the positive. But you have to have the contact from them first, and then follow the guidelines as best as you can and based upon your nature. So when you do that, it helps guide you away from the things that, because it's a separation taking place, and there's a destruction taking place, which is allowing those who are oppressed to get from underneath that. Now, to go back to your question, what are we supposed to do with all these people over here and around the world, with the what parents supposed to do with these people coming into school and all that? There's different degrees of separation, but it has to be a separation, but it has to be a destruction. But before you could do all of that, there has to be correct information and mentality involved. What they're doing, they're trying to still use politics to fix it, because religion and politics is the same way they believe that God can fix it once it get too bad. So the government or the politic is just another face of religion. So they have faith in not the government per se, but the fact that those people who took office claim to be some type of a Christian. But when you get into the politics, you know, you got different types of Christians. You got evangelican, you got the Protestants, the Lutherans, the Mormons. You got all these different forms of Christians over here that are sprinkled out through politics. So when you look at politics, you don't really see, you know, other religions reflected in that much, because politically and religiously, that's the backbone and the foundation of this country, or the people that came here. So spiritually by nature, also their spirits are controlling them a certain kind of way. So the spirits that control Islam or Buddhism or whatever, those spirits are not going to take precedence. They're not going to seek what the Quran may say to deal with this. They're not going to seek what Noon said. They're not, you understand? They're going to seek what they believe in says. And because the Bible under Paul, which is Flavius Piso, who was Paul, you got to understand why Christians get away from the Old Testament. And they say that when Jesus died, the law went with him, and now they was under grace and all this other stuff. Piso had a problem with the Jews, the Zealots, who was fighting with that Roman war back in like 69 to 70 AD, 67, because they started brewing like 66, but they had other little skirmishes around that time. So when Flavius realized, he went to visit Rome to look at it, he marveled at everything, and he was like, man, we not gonna beat these people. So they locked him up for 2 years, and then he went back and tried to convince the Jews that, yo, we need to just give up and live up underneath them, and that'd be better than dying. But these was the Zealots, who was like another branch, because you had the Pharisees and the Sadducees. But the Pharisees, I think, dealt with the law in different application. I think the Sadducees, they just dealt with it literal. And they didn't, I don't think the Sadducees believed in a heaven and all that, because when you read the Old Testament, you don't see anything about life after death. So the Sadducees didn't believe in that. But the Zealots believed in following the law, and they dealt with the sacrificial part. They was in the temple, they dealt with the killing of the animals and following the Old Testament. Flavius didn't want to deal with that, because he seen that we're not going to win this, even though he fought in the war against the Romans. But then he turned at the end when it was like 900 something Jew Zealots left, and they said, well, we rather just commit suicide than to live under the Romans. So Flavius and another cat was able to fandangle it to say, okay, well, how about every third person, you know, will do the killing, meaning the first 2 people will help kill y'all, then the third one would do, then they'll switch up, and then they go 1, 2, 3, that the first 2 get killed, the third one, then 1, 2, like that. But some kind of way Flavius and this other guy ended up being the last 2. And they said, well, I ain't finna kill myself. And so they ended up surrendering to I think it was Flavius. I think Vespasian. That was his name. And he the one that took him in. So what happens is he wrote things against the Jews using the New Testament. and it locked them in, and he was trying to destroy and break them down morally. He was only aiming at one group. See, they try to say, you know, before this with the Jews and all that, they was the earth Christians. No, they wasn't. These people believed in what they call in Judaism. It was no early Christians. When you start talking about what they trying to, it was no Christianity until after Constantine. But this is how they lie through history, because they're trying to connect Christianity as far as their version of it pre that 69, 70 AD war that the Jews lost. But I'm dealing with all that stuff in the next coming videos. Even if you go and look on my video as far as the historical Jesus, at least 1 through 5, it goes to a lot of Flavius background.
When you say Flavius, you're talking Flavius Josephus, right?
Yes, Josephus, right, Piso.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what he did by him taking the Jesus character and remixing it and saying, you know, Paul is him. He's Paul in the New Testament. Because Jesus was saying, I didn't come to destroy the law. I came to fulfill it. Paul came in and mixed the story up and said, we don't need the law. Now, Paul has more authority in the Bible than Jesus, because by them extrapolating, or well, not extrapolated, didn't put all of the history of what was really going on. That's what I'm working on now, to show you how they did that. But for the most part, the Christians or Caucasian people don't believe, they was tricked and believed that the law or the Old Testament was a curse. So what Jesus being dying relieved them of the curse and follow the laws of man until whenever. So now in America, they don't, because they believe that, they don't look to the Old Testament for what to do, according to them. Now, the Old Testament got a lot of laws in it that if you applied it to the stuff that's taking place,
exactly,
a lot of that wouldn't even be here.
Exactly. The Levitical codes goes through a lot of what you're talking about now.
Right. So,
and if they would heed, see, you raise an excellent point. America's supposed to be a Christian nation and was built off, you know, the Bible, etc., based upon the laws and all that kind of thing. Same with the UK and most Christian countries. But if they were really living like that, we would see, you know, in essence, a true reflection of, you know, if you do this, there's going to be a consequence. There's not a wishy-washy kind of like maybe, coulda, shoulda. It's no, you did this. This is the law. This is what we do. We're not dealing with we're not gonna destroy the oceans by dredging it of all of the sea urchins, the cockles, the shellfish, the oysters, the crabs, the lobsters, the krill. We're not going to do that. We're going to leave them in there because they're there for a purpose, right? Everything has its purpose on this plane of existence. Now, if you want to talk about farmed fish,